Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Yunus. Today I'm gonna talk about Azure Virtual Desktop and Windows 365 architecture. These are the two end user computing technology. At the end of the session, I will spend some time giving you kind of comparison between these two technologies so that you know which one is the best fit to your requirement. With that, let's get started. So before we get into AVD, I would like to talk about how virtualized capabilities address the business need. Today, the end user require mobility. There are different requirements for different user profiles. You talk about sales at branch, delivery team at restaurant, right? The customers are envisioned towards BOID. Additionally, there are requirements for specialized workload for different profile. Some of the use case, if we talk about, right, like engineering team and the design professional who work on graphic intensive workload, where GPU implementation is the key to the delivery. So with AVD, right, you get that flexibility for all such use case, right from normal office users to highly graphic intensive needs. Coming to the security and regulations, these are very important aspects which we will discuss in the next slide. Talking about security, as you're aware, right, the customer in financial service, healthcare, government are very particular about the security. Microsoft invested heavily on security to ensure that all security and regulations have been taken care of, and that's not just for AVD, but it also applies to other cloud services like Office 365 and as well as D365. Okay. So with AVD, right, you get the best experience, best user experience. And with that, we allow you to connect from any device to Azure Virtual Desktop. Uh, so you can talk about any client, you talk about macOS, Android, HTML5 browsers and Windows devices, right? You can connect, you can just get connected to AVD without any hassles. And with that, at the end, the users, right, they get unified experience across all client devices. Apart from AVD, apart from that, AVD offer extremely fast logon time for both desktops and apps. This means at the backend, we are using containerized user profile management with Fslogix, which I'm gonna talk more in our upcoming slides. When it comes to Office 365, our engineering team has put a lot of effort to ensure that you have seamless experience in terms of performance. And similarly, this goes to Microsoft team as well. When you work with the resource intensive workload like audio and video processing, including media redirections. Now, when it comes to AVD, right, we offer various security, and that is all out of box, right? You can introduce advanced security as a part of the authentication using multi-factor authentication and certificate service. You can implement fine-grained access control using RBAC. When it comes to user session isolations, no matter or multi-session, right, every session remains secure. Finally, the connection between the device and the session host always outbound in AVD case through reverse connect technology, which further help in reducing the attack surface. So moving to the next slide. So here, right, with all traditional VDI and RDS service, you manage almost all components, right? You name brokering service, database, licensing, and whatnot. However, with desktop as a service, right, you don't need to worry about several hazards like licensing, network performance. With AVD, we just want our customers or partners to manage the entitlement image, where rest of the service stacks are being managed by us. Okay, let's understand in brief on the service architecture that AVD offers. Right, from connectivity standpoint, you can connect from your on-premise resource via express route or using secure VPN connection. In terms of user authentication, Azure Active Directory integrates seamlessly with AVD. In terms of image management, the packaging and whatnot, AVD integrates well with the System Center Configuration Manager and Microsoft Intune. Finally, AVD support device running non-Windows operating system like Linux using Thin Client SDK and other tools. Okay, as I pointed out earlier, AVD provides you with all controls that you need, to manage your AVD services. You select what you want to offer to your end user. That can be either personal desktop or remote app. Okay, and you can implement several control using Azure policy, image management, scaling, and whatnot, right? So this is where we'll talk about the different comparison. Let's talk about different options, right, that are available for virtual desktops and app virtualizations. First, RDS 2019, right? I would rather call it as on-premise version of the desktop as a service, where you manage the entire application and infrastructure such as network storage, server licensing, etc. RDS on IaaS, okay, is like moving a concept of on-premise VDI environment to Azure infrastructure solutions, where you have all component of RDS. At the end, you end up saving a lot of infrastructure costs, right, with this offering. It offers hybrid options with a workload hosted in the customer or partner subscription. Okay. Both of these solutions, that one RDS 2019 and RDS on IaaS, are proven to be very costly solution, right? Whereas if you look at AVD, it is like fully managed PaaS offering from Microsoft, right? Where you get feature-rich experience, at the same time you reduce your total cost of operations. So a lot of ease. With AVD, you host VM and image on Azure. The rest of the components of AVD is just managed for you, as I said. So with the Microsoft control management plane, and you don't have to pay for it, right? Which reduces the significant cost for the customers. Now you get Windows 11 that we recently rolled out, and with that you get multi-session as well, which is available and being offered anywhere. At the same time, we provide extended support for Windows 7, which you are aware that it's end of support at this point in time. Finally, AVD is easy to use, deploy, and all underlying AVD components, right? Session host, broking service are all Microsoft managed. So let me move on to the next screen. So this is what we spoke, right? You end up managing a lot of components with even with Azure IaaS, right? So you manage session host, you manage web app, RDS gateway, web browser, SQL services. You manage a lot of things. But if you move to AVD architecture, it's different, right? And this is how it looks like. So here we don't need to install any kind of RDS role. Instead, that burden being taken away from the customer. Well, this results in two benefits. Okay, the first, significant effort saving, as you don't manage and maintain this service. Our customers can now concentrate on more value-added services like advanced desktop management, monitoring, health check, life cycle management, and image management. Secondly, you have a huge cost saving. You don't need to pay for this management components like web app, gateway, etc. So a lot of benefits. Moving here, right? So almost all customers are already using Microsoft 365 services, and if you are one of them, then you are eligible to use Azure Virtual Desktop as well as a part of your existing license management. So in case you already have license, you just get started with AVD. This is what I'm trying to say here. But that being said, right, you need RDS Cal license with active software assurance in case you want to run Windows server workload on AVD. Moving to next slide, let's talk about Fslogix kind of profile management services that's being offered as a part of the AVD. So with AVD, we offer the customer to access three core pieces that is coming out of box with Fslogix. So one is the profile container first. So this applies when you have a roaming profile and folder redirections, right? And this is also include 365 related profile contains like Outlook setting, Outlook cache. You talk about OneDrive cache, right? Having Office related, I mean it's a view, right? Having a kind of Office related profile is an optional, and you may configure not to save these settings in your profile storage to save significant cost. We'll talk about app masking. So let's say you have 100 applications that you want to distribute to the end users, right? As an example, so let's suppose you have a user called John. He's having access to 10 different applications. another user, Peter, right? He has access to another 15 applications. Traditionally, what you will end up doing is building a gold image for each different users, so that the application they need is available to them, right? It's hard to manage, and we understand that. With app masking, you just build golden image and then configure a specific group of users so that they only see those applications which they have access to. Okay. uh, Talking about Java redirections, when it comes to multiple applications, some applications require specific version of Java, whereas other different applications need another version of Java. In this scenario, where you have multiple applications that with multiple Java versions, right? Java redirection is the best to help you here. So this is one good part about Fslogix that's come out of box. Moving here, let's talk about network and identity requirement for AVD. With AVD, you can unblock several network and security services, and that are out of box. So from the identity perspective, you can use conditional access. Okay. So network and identity, right? From the hybrid connectivity perspective, so what you can do is you can extend your on-premise environment to Azure so that you can securely connect to AVD using Express Route or site-to-site VPN. Okay, these are two options. From Express Route being a reliable connectivity, so if you want better experience, go for Express Route. The only in case you don't have on-premise ADDS service, then optional is to leverage your new capability, that is Azure ADDS services, to ensure you meet the identity requirement for AVD design. Let's talk about network and security, right? From the identity perspective, you can use conditional access. Okay. Where MFA, you can use MFA, you can use conditional access, and those are like that will help you to secure your session host, right? Using policy or defender. With all this kind of in-depth security capabilities, right? You can secure your app infrastructures, networking, upscale your environment to to use more sophisticated network security like Defender for cloud and Siami service like Azure Sentinel. So let's talk about profile management now. As I said, the Fslogix, right? It's a capability that's available where you can use a profile management. With Fslogix, user profiles are kept in VHD containers and are placed in a central location on the network, right? So it can be your Azure file share, it can be your NetApp, storage, direct space, it can be anything, right? So when user logs into any device, the VHD from this storage, right, is attached to the pool of the pool desktops. So this provides seamless experience to the end users in terms of fast logins, avoid kind of profile corruptions, and trust this isn't so complex to implement, very straightforward. AVD profile management offers many features like cloud cache for fast profile access by implementing a kind of seamless sync between the local and remote profile container. So let's move on. Let's give me a sec. So now we can talk about MXI app attach. So we have seen user profile, right, using Fslogix, where profile is actually stored in some VHD files and it's on a specific storage in Azure. So when user logs in, they get that hard disk is mounted on the user profile, and what they get is a seamless experience. And similar to that, right, like user profile, the app is also isolated from the actual desktop, and the same can be achieved using MSI app attach. So when user logs in, they get on-demand application attached to their VM on go. Okay, this means you don't need to install each application on the VM in pool-based configurations, or if in case you have a golden image. Okay. Moving on to next slide about performance. When it comes to performance, right, we recommend round-trip time latency to be within 150 ms in case you want a better experience with AVD. Lesser the RTT, better the performance that end users can take, right? You can use different scaling options for pool-based desktops to provide better experience. There are different way of scaling. The depth first session scale is a more cost-effective solution, whereas breadth first is scaling for more profit kind of experience. Just make sure you consider appropriate options to make your design look better from the performance perspective. So let's talk about Windows 365 now. And specifically about the use case, right? So so while we know all hybrid model creates new opportunities, at the same time it creates a lot of issues and challenges. Okay, when you have a mix of remote and on-premise user base, onboarding and provisioning the PC for them is like a key challenge, right? No matter what kind of users you are, you talk about vendors, contractors, and whatnot. You always want them to onboard from any device and from any location. Business continuity is not restricted to the availability of a service or a data of the user. It is also the accessibility of the end user to the device during disaster. Now the organization started thinking as to how they can provide fully managed desktops to deliver the access to all their data and personalized content what they have. Okay, thinking about the security aspect and compliance requirement, it is important to secure customer data that we understand, and while addressing the growing complexity in the compliance, it's very important, right? We need to ensure that we don't end up sacrificing the productivity as well. And this is where cloud PC come into picture with all these use case, right? So if we talk about pandemic change, right? The way how it used to operate earlier, there are a lot of things has changed from the pandemic, right? And with that, remote and hybrid work model becoming a key requirement for the customers. The rise in growing economy forced the organization to hire more and more sophisticated worker, and the requirement for various infrastructure need. Organization expanding constantly. We are all aware of that. And with BOID, right, mobile devices are the clear focus for the organization. Also, hybrid model. This hybrid model, right, of work culture has made the organizations to allow end users to use their own PC for their real life work. All these relaxations on work policy comes with security and compliance base, right? And that we need to adhere for all end users. So solution to all these challenges, right, that we have discussed is the Windows Cloud PC, okay, which uses the power of the cloud and the capability of the device to provide fully personalized Windows experience for your end users. Okay, so Windows, what are the capabilities that you get, right, with Windows 365? So Windows 365 provides greater productivity experience by delivering users their personalized content, setting, and applications. It is simple to deploy and manage from single console. It is secure by design. And leaving no data on the device. Okay, it is available on any device and optimized for a best experience for Windows PC at a predictable price. And lastly, it is scalable and resilient to support the changing workforce need and the business scenarios. Okay, we'll talk about now about the architecture of Windows 365. It comes with two editions, right? First, let's talk about enterprise. It's very important. When it comes to enterprise cloud PC, you leverage the capability of Azure networking as well as the capability of hybrid AD join. It is important that you properly configure your network in Azure subscription to ensure the access to Active Directory that has Azure AD hybrid join enabled. Okay, VM runs in Microsoft managed subscription, which means you don't have access to it directly. Okay. So, but that being said, right, the VM NIC in enterprise case, right, it is injected into the VNet of the customer subscription, because that's where the networks are being controlled. All the traffic that enters and leaves the VM, right, is via customer VNet. Ingress transfer costs are incurred by the customer. So since admin doesn't have access to VM directly in a Microsoft system, all management tasks like software installation, patching, policies are completely managed and performed through Microsoft Endpoint Manager portal. Yeah. Coming back to business cloud PCs are VM that runs entirely in Microsoft subscription, including the network interface card which you used to manage. But this is not a case with business. So the customer do not do not need to manage Azure subscription, right? They don't need to worry about their subscription. Since Business Cloud PC natively joins to Azure AD, there is no requirement to have kind of on-premise Active Directory dependency. There is also no requirement for Intune in business case. Okay. Business cloud PCs route all traffic through Microsoft control network infrastructure, and there is no way to for admin to control inbound and outbound connectivity in case of business, right? PC can only be managed directly by the user, just like a standalone physical device, right? There are no prerequisites and no setup steps that you need for business cloud PC. You just need to simply assign business cloud PC license to the user in Windows 365 admin portal. The new desktops get provision in an hour, and user gets an email notifications to log in to get started with the cloud PC. Okay. So let's talk about difference between Windows 365 and business and enterprise category, right? So business comes with few capabilities, as you can see here, and the controls are very less, right? But you get better control features when it comes to enterprise edition. Okay, with business you get only 300 PC, okay, max, that can be provisioned, whereas there is no limitations on the number of desktops when it comes to enterprise edition. It is important to note that to get capabilities like EA reporting, monitoring, you can have your own image, right, which can store, replicate, and deploy. And with MEM integration, right, you will be able to leverage advanced MEME based troubleshooting. So a lot of capabilities, right? Custom image, you talk about health service and operation related alerts, you get everything kind of included with enterprise version. Let's talk more about enterprise edition now, and the requirement specifically about enterprise, because it integrates with your managed subscription, right? So from the requirement standpoint, you need to have this license, right? You talk about for users with Windows Pro endpoint, you can have if you have Windows 10 E3, if you have Microsoft 365 F3, E3, E5, BP, you can just go with that, right? And if you have a user with non Windows Pro endpoint, then yes, M365 and EMS E3, Windows VDA E3 license can help. Okay. Yes, we need Azure subscription as well here, because as well as the Azure VNet to create line of sight to your on-premise domain controller, the architecture that we have spoken about in previous slide. You can bring your own image of Windows 10 and Windows 11 as appropriate. Currently, you can use both MEM and SEM to manage the cloud PC. Lastly, you need Intune, right? And permission on Azure's, like you talk about Intune service admin, you need to be a subscription owner in terms of permission. So there are few requirements. So how to deploy Windows 365? To deploy enterprise cloud PC, right? The first step is to create your Azure subscription and implement Azure AD and virtual network, so that you allow the line of sight to your domain controller. Once you have this in place, you can go ahead and configure your hybrid AD join that integrates your on-premise AD with Azure AD. You can then able to manage the license of your MEM. Okay, once you do that, with all image and network in place, you can start associating this resource to Windows 365 as per the region. Finally, make sure you have all permissions that we have spoken earlier for your tenant and Intune to configure and manage resource to be consumed by Windows 365 Cloud PC. Moving on to performance, right? Why we are talking about endpoint analysis? Because that's a key capability that you get when you have 365 integrated with your endpoint. Okay, so we'll talk about initially as a starter, we'll talk about resource performance. Resource performance and remoting connections gives admin kind of rich or proactive out-of-box analytics on a key performance metrics, right? Which enable them to take proactive actions to improve the end user performance. This is not only helps to improve the user experience and productivity score, but also reduces the support volumes, for your customers. So when it comes to resource performance, you will get CPU spike percentage, RAM time percentage, spike percentage. Coming back to remoting connections, cloud user experience relies on user speeding, right? Speed connecting to their cloud PC and reliability of the network. So remote connections provide visibility to the kind of quality of connections and impact on the end users. From MEME, you can get the information such as RD client logon time, login failures with reason, and RTT value. Okay. Startup performance. Another great announcement in endpoint analytics, right, is the startup performance feature. Now you can review your current score of your cloud PC, logon duration on average, as well as the cloud individual PC, right, how they are performing. This makes it easy to troubleshoot when end user complained about logon duration. Additionally, you can have an insight on the recommended software which is supported by Intune, and application health which is running on the cloud PC. Lastly, the cloud PC can solve common issues by automated actions that you can architect for your service. So let's talk about the zero trust principles that comes with Windows 365, right? From the security perspective, of course, the primary benefit of the cloud is to abstract your device using, that you are accessing. So as an admin, you have full control over the data in the cloud and can prevent users from copying data to their local PC. That's one security, right? And beyond that, Windows 365 follow a zero trust security model. For example, you can use multi-factor authentication to explicitly verify any login or access attempts to the cloud. You can pair this with conditional access policy to access kind of login risk instantly on each session. You can also design user and admin experiences around the principle of least privilege access, so that for example, you can delegate specific functions like licensing, device management, craftsmanship on a specific role. You do need global admin to manage each component. So you can use the baseline from Microsoft Defender and Edge, just like you would do for your physical device at on-premise. Microsoft Defender for endpoint also works seamlessly with Cloud PC. As you can also expect encryption that you can apply and encrypt the data at rest or in transit. Okay. So next, let's talk about feature, right? From the authentication perspective, right? Hybrid AD join for Windows 10 and Windows 11 is now available. You can use remote app support for published application. You talk about management. Microsoft integrates well with Lighthouse. Or you can have automated remediation components that we have spoken earlier. Kind of lightweight management for Windows 365 self-services. You talk about image management that we have said you can bring your own image. You can build your own gallery. Simplify your image, completely image management process. You can update image from MEM portal. Talking about monitoring and reporting, you have a granular RBAC support in MEM. You talk about endpoint analytics that we have said, use different metrics that we have spoken. Lot of things to do, and with all features and capabilities that comes today with Windows 365. Sorry. Coming back to feature roadmap, this is what we are trying now. GPU support still in the pipeline. So soon with Windows 365, we'll have GPU based capability so that you have your experience kind of graphic intensive workload, right? If you want to run on Windows 365, that is in the pipeline. Device recommender still in the pipeline so that you can resize or right size your VM as and when needed based on the monitoring data. Image management and profile, yes, image creation within MEM still in the roadmap, updating the PC with a new image, reset your VMs to a new clean user. Again, trusted platform modules Again, zero trust. This is all building and we are developing over the period of time. So a lot of enhancement that is going on to provide such greater capabilities, right, in terms of user accessibility. Comparison between Windows 365 and Azure Virtual Desktop, right? With Windows 365, right, as I said, it is fixed price based, whereas Azure Virtual Desktop is a consumption based model. Talking about the subscription, except for enterprise, where Nix is injected in the customer, everything is in Microsoft managed subscription. But with AVD, all resources are in the customer subscription, so that they are built and customer pay for them. From the compute perspective, right, you get optimized PCs, right? Whereas you have a flexibility to optimize when it comes to AVD. Windows 365 designed for single users, and whereas AVD gives you capability to use dedicated or pool-based users, right? So that you have a lot of cost saving. There is no auto scaling options available at this point in time. But auto scaling capabilities are available with AVD, okay, and it's a part of the Azure services. Configuration, very easy for Windows 365 to configure and manage, whereas you need specialized skill to manage AVD because it has a lot of component. You talk about Fslogix, you talk about MSI app attach. There are a lot of services that works, including storage, compute, network. So you need specialized capability. Identity perspective, you can have a hybrid AD join and Azure AD join. With Azure Virtual Desktop, you have ADDS, which you can bring from your on-premise to Azure, extend, or you can use Azure AD that is supported at this point in time. From the user profile, Windows 365 provide only local profile. With AVD, you have Fslogix. You can do a lot of stuff in terms of your profile management based on in case you have a pool-based services, right? Lot to do. That these are the resource link that you can refer to do better and learn more about AVD and Windows 365. That's all that I wanted to talk today. I hope this session was very informative. I will look forward in case you have any questions. Thank you and have a great day.